thank you, the program director. I would also like to acknowledge the colleagues, the deputy minister, the premiers, heads of departments, leaders of the teacher unions, and leadership of the government bodies that are working very hard to make our educational system the best. As the Minister of Education, it is my duty to make sure that we achieve the best result. As according to the National Education Policy Act 27 of 1996, determination of National Education Policy by Minister, Section 3(1). The Minister shall determine national education policy in accordance with the provision of the Constitution in this Act. In determining national policies for education at educational institutions, the Minister shall take into account the competence of the provincial legislatures in terms of Section 146 of the Constitution and the relevant provisions of any provincial law relating to this education. As according to the National Education Policy Act 27 of 1996, determination of national education policy by Minister, Section 3(1). The Minister shall determine national education policy in accordance with the provision of the Constitution in this Act. In determining national policies for education at educational institutions, the Minister shall take into account the competence of the provincial legislatures in terms of Section 146 of the Constitution and the relevant provisions of any provincial law relating to this education. It is my duty in education to make sure that all the policies are implemented. I start from language of instruction in our education system. As the Minister of Education, I believe that mother tongue education should be implemented. As we all know that our South African learners are struggling. Our performance is not the best at all, as we are at the bottom of the list in the ranks globally. As I touched on the implementation of policies, in our South African policies, one of them is the South African Constitution, RSA 1996. According to this policy, Section 1 says that the Republic of South Africa is one sovereign democratic state founded on the value of C, supremacy of the Constitution and the rule of law. According to Section 2, supremacy of Constitution. This Constitution is the supreme law of the Republic, law or conduct inconsistent with its invalid and obligations imposed by it must be fulfilled. My duty as a Minister of Education is to make sure that all these laws and principles are fulfilled. So when we go back to mother tongue education, it is stated in the South African Constitution that learners should be taught in the language of their choice. I quote, Section 6 of the Constitution states that the official languages of the Republic of South Africa are Sepedi, Sesotho, Setswana, Seswati, Tshivenda, Tonga, Afrikaans, English, isiNdebele, isiXhosa, and isiZulu. And we all know that these are not just the languages that we have in South Africa. These are just the 11 official ones. On top of these 11 languages, we have 24 more languages that are mother tongues of children that goes to education schools. To quote a few, Tamil and Hindu. These peoples, they're expected to sit in a class where they have to be instructed in a second language that they do not speak, and they're expected to excel academically, which is just impossible. Section 29(2) of the Constitution deals with specifically the education in one's preferred language and stipulates as follows. Everyone has the right to receive education in the official language or languages of their choice in public education institution, where that education is reasonably practicable. In order to ensure the effective access to and implementation of the rights, the state must consider all reasonable educational alternatives, including single medium institution, taking into account equity. According to studies and research, it is proven that when a child's mother tongue is developed, it is easy for them to learn a second language, therefore they perform better academically. And I, as the Minister of Education, it is my duty to make sure that our rates academically improve. So the only way, or one of the ways to fulfill that, is by implementing mother tongue education. Another issue in our education system is that 500,000 of learners are expelled. Yet, the South African Schools Act 84 of 1996, under admission to public schools, states that a public school must admit learners and save their educational requirements without unfairly discriminating in any way. It also states that in determining the placement of a learner with a special educational needs, the head of department and the principal must take into account the rights and wishes of the parents of such a learner. These policies are written in black and white, but they are not being reinforced. The problem here is that the teachers are not well trained to teach learners that are living with disabilities or who's got special needs. The teachers, they're not ready, they were never prepared to teach in an inclusive classroom. Yet in our policies, it is stated that such learners should be in a mainstream school. So I, as the Minister of Education, I am going to make sure that all the teachers gain such education, where they are well prepared to teach in an inclusive classroom, whether the learner is blind, whether the learner is deaf, they all can go to the same school. We're going to make sure that each and every school has all the resources that support all the learners. However, there are going to be challenges. Okay, Section 29 states that a learner who is 16 years of age or older, who has never attended school, and who is seeking admission for the first time or did not make sufficient progress with his or her peer groups, must be advised to enroll at an adult basic education and training, also known as ABET. As it is stipulated in this policy, I, as the minister, I am going to make sure that all the learners that have been expelled because of their learning disabilities or special needs that cannot be met at their school, I am going to make sure that I create an environment exactly as ABET, but that's going to have resources that meet the needs of these learners with special educational needs. Okay. I, as the Minister of Education, am going to make sure that the Department of Education, our department, implements policies that will apply to the reality of our South African crisis. For example, the policy states that no learner must be refused admission into a public school regardless of the situation, if they are living with disabilities or a special need. Yet, the teachers in these public schools are not trained at all on how to teach in an inclusive classroom or how to teach learners living with disabilities or learners who've got special needs. On top of that, there are no resources in public schools that will aid the teaching and learning of the schools with special needs. These leave teachers with no choice but to expel the learners. On top of that, I am going to make sure that the learners and the parents are well informed, as I am going to make sure that there are programs that are going to teach the learners and parents on their rights and responsibilities. In fact, everyone, including the teachers, the head of departments, the SNT as a whole, so that no violent or no one can violate against anyone's right. And everyone will know which measures to take in case their right is being violated.